I adopted 3 alphas. I treated them like my own little brothers and patiently watched them grow up. Until one day, a beautiful omega appeared. His scent gland was always mysteriously injured. And all the evidence pointed straight to me. Those 3 idiots believed it and fought with me again and again because of him. Charlie, you're not young anymore. You're just jealous that he's an omega, and you're a disgusting beta. No matter what you are, omega or not, we'll never like you. Looking at the 3 strangers in front of me, I felt completely empty inside. When I opened my eyes again, I was back on the day I adopted them. 1. Ugh, my head hurts. Didn't I die already? I opened my eyes in confusion. The place around me felt both familiar and strange. Young master, the car is ready. Are we heading to the orphanage now? My assistant knocked and stepped inside. He looked 10 years younger. But that year, when the fire broke out, he'd run in to save me and burned half his face. Seeing me stare at him blankly, he asked worriedly. Young master, what's wrong? Are you feeling unwell? Young master. No one had called me that since my parents died. I rushed into the bathroom and looked into the mirror. The face staring back was fair and flawless, with dark, bright eyes. No scars. No disfigurement. It felt like I had gone back 10 years. The reflection was of a 17-year-old Charlie, carefree and innocent. I shut my eyes in pain. Scenes from the moment before I died replayed in my mind, reminding me it had all been real. I still remembered seeing Declan's face as the car went off the cliff. He looked down at me from above, eyes full of contempt. He mouthed silently, "They belong to me. I'm the real protagonist of this world. Charlie, you're just an NPC. And this is what happens when you try to fight me. That crash wasn't an accident. Declan planned it." And the 3 alphas I'd raised, when they saw me fall into the sea, not one of them looked worried. Landon, the eldest, said coldly, "Charlie, you raised us. We're grateful for that. But you shouldn't have hurt Declan." Logan, the second, added, "You're dead now. We'll make sure you get a nice grave." And the youngest, Hudson, just looked at Declan with pity in his eyes. "Declan, no one can hurt you now. We'll protect you." I couldn't tell if what I felt was hatred or heartbreak. My chest throbbed painfully. But when I opened my eyes again, I pushed all those feelings down. I walked up to my assistant. "Let's go. To the orphanage." Now that I had come back to 17, the adoption hadn't happened yet. Everything could start over. 2. When we arrived at the orphanage, the director gathered all the children. I looked around carefully, but the 3 of them weren't there. Just as I was about to ask, I heard footsteps at the door. "Sorry, we're late, ma'am." 3 boys stood at the entrance, smiles bright and innocent. The director looked puzzled but said nothing, simply leading them to me. "Young master, here are 3 more children. They're very polite and well-behaved. Landon, Logan, and Hudson, every single one of them. Their clothes were old and patched, but neatly washed. Yet in my previous life, the 3 of them had never been here. Could my rebirth have changed the timeline? Back then, I had first met Landon by accident on the playground. I'd asked the director about him. Her kind face showed a trace of helplessness as she explained. "Their situation is complicated. Their parents died unexpectedly in the war, leaving only these 3 poor boys. They're withdrawn and don't play with the other kids, always sticking together. Most adoptive families only want 1 child, but they made a pact to go to the same home, or not go at all. That's why the eldest, Landon, is already 11 and still hasn't been adopted. But me? I was Charlie, just a regular rich beta from an old money family. We had more money than we could ever spend, and I was the only child. My parents were always abroad on business, and I lived alone in a huge mansion, lonely and bored. One day, I came across a video about the orphanage and learned how hard the kids had it. So I asked my assistant to take me there. At first, I only chose Landon. But when I was about to leave, the other two ran after me, calling out, "Brother, brother." Their faces were dirty, but their eyes were bright. That soft call melted my heart. So I adopted all three. I had plenty of money, I could afford it. I came back to the present and studied the three boys carefully. Oddly, when they saw me, all three smiled brightly and couldn't take their eyes off me. Landon was the first to speak, his voice sweet and polite. "Hello, brother." The other two quickly followed, calling me brother, too. Not like the last time, when they'd looked at me with fear and rejection. For a moment, I thought I heard someone softly whisper, "Charlie." Hudson, the youngest, had always liked calling me that. I looked over at him. He lowered his head slightly, hiding behind Logan, pushing away the strange feeling that rose in my chest. I smiled and started talking with them just like before. 3. Landon, being the oldest, was much more mature and sensible than the other kids. He looked up at me with his young, hopeful face. "Brother, I'll be good. I can do all kinds of chores." In adoption cases, families usually cared most about the feeling, whether they liked the child at first sight. In my past life, the moment I saw Landon, I decided to adopt him. But looking at him now, all I could think about was what he'd done to me later. Declan was a young, charming Omega. After Landon fell for him, he'd told me many times that he wanted to marry him. I hadn't planned to interfere, it was his choice. But then, Declan kept getting kidnapped, his scent gland mysteriously injured each time. He cried pitifully, "Landon, don't blame him. It's my fault for being careless. I know Charlie doesn't like me. I'll leave soon. I just want to stay safe." He spoke to Landon, but his eyes were on me. Landon didn't ask questions, he just slapped me across the face. His eyes were blazing with anger. "Charlie! How could you do something so cruel to him? Don't you know how important a scent gland is to an Omega?" Landon was already a grown, strong alpha. That slap rang in my ears for a long time. I could taste blood in my mouth. After that, every time Declan got hurt, Landon came straight to accuse me again. I couldn't understand it. "Why do you all think I'd ever hurt him?" His answer was, "You're a beta. You had disgusting thoughts about us. Declan is innocent. Even if it wasn't for him, we still wouldn't love you." I had raised those three into exceptional alphas. I gave them the best life possible. Designer clothes, a mansion to live in, luxury cars to drive, the best schools to attend. Later, Landon joined my company, Logan buried himself in research, and Hudson became a celebrity. They were all handsome, talented, admired by everyone. So full of pride. And they started believing I had dirty feelings for them. That out of jealousy, I kept hurting Declan, the one they loved. 4. Ha! We betas are the real gods, you know. Back then, I didn't argue, I just cherished our years of brotherhood. But thinking back now, I realize I was the fool. In their expectant gazes, I turned to the director and said, "All right. I'll take him." Landon heard me but didn't seem surprised. The three of them exchanged looks that said, "See? We knew it. Told you he'd pick us." Brothers always soft-hearted. They ran off happily to pack their things. But someone stopped them halfway. A roommate asked, "Landon, where are you going?" Smiling, they said, "We found a family. We're being adopted today." The other boy frowned. That rich young man hadn't chosen them, so why were they so happy? But he said nothing. By the time they arrived, my car had just started moving. Landon's face changed as he shouted, "Brother! Charlie! Wait! We're not in the car yet." I kindly asked the driver to stop. When they caught up, I rolled down the window and asked calmly, "HM? What's the matter?" Landon was panting from running. "Brother, wait for us. We've agreed to be adopted by you." He opened the car door himself, ready to climb in. But then he froze. There was another boy sitting inside. Their eyes met. Shock flashed across Landon's dark eyes. Brother, who is he? 5. I shifted slightly, blocking the boy beside me. I smiled faintly at Landon. When did I ever say I was adopting you? Logan, who had just caught up, heard that and stomped his foot angrily. How could you go back on your word? We've been so good. We'll grow up to be amazing, why won't you take us? He glared at the boy next to me. What's so great about that ugly kid? He's just a beta. We're alphas, we'll be the best someday. Looking at their familiar faces, all I felt was pain. The memories were too vivid, the scenes before my death replayed in my mind. I looked at Logan and said softly, "Yes, you're all smart. That's why I believe you'll find families much better than me. And also, you're being quite rude." I closed the car door and window coldly. My assistant understood immediately and drove off. Hudson, running last, inhaled the exhaust and started coughing. Frustrated, he shouted, "Charlie! How could you abandon us? We're your family." But the car was already far away. I didn't hear his voice, or see the expression on his young face that no 9-year-old should have. The orphanage kids were all neat and well-fed. None of them looked malnourished. The director deserved the credit. So I donated a large sum to the orphanage, ensuring every child there could grow up safely. As for adopting Landon and the others again. What a joke. Once bitten, twice shy. I wouldn't make the same mistake twice. Declan was a transmigrator, someone who knew the story from the start. That's how he easily won over those 3 fools. But he was wrong about one thing. Yes, I might have been just an NPC in this world. But I decide who the main character is. Anyone standing under the cherry blossom tree can be beautiful. Whoever I choose, that person becomes the lead. 6. I looked at the little boy sitting next to me, curiously peering out the window. I reached over and ruffled his hair. He was a beta too. Among all the children, he was the most ordinary. Dark-skinned, skinny, with wrists so thin they looked fragile. In my past life, I'd seen what he became when he grew up, still plain and unremarkable. But that was fine. I had plenty of time to watch him grow. In the future, he and I would share a deep bond, something that felt almost fated. Sadly, in my previous life, I never lived long enough to see that day. Joseph looked up at me nervously. "Brother, why didn't you choose them? They're alphas. Everyone likes alphas more." It was true. Landon and his brothers were smarter and better looking than most kids their age. They were the most popular in the orphanage, bright, confident, always the best at games and schoolwork. Anyone coming to adopt would pick them first. I smiled teasingly. Because I don't like kids who are too smart. And besides, I felt a special connection when I saw you. We're both betas, I like betas. In this world, everyone's secondary gender, alpha, beta, or omega, is determined right after birth. Right now, I just wanted to stay far away from those arrogant alphas. Joseph looked confused but nodded obediently. "Okay, brother. I understand." From that moment on, a small seed was planted in his heart. A seed that said brother likes betas. As he watched me leave with Joseph, Landon stood frozen. Why didn't he choose us? He's always so soft-hearted. Logan's eyes turned red. "Big brother, do you think we really have a chance to start over? We hurt him so badly for Declan. He must have been in so much pain." Landon looked just as heartbroken, but he steadied himself. His young face was filled with guilt and sorrow. "No matter what, we have to find him. At least this time, the things we regret haven't happened yet. He's still alive, and we still have a chance to make things right." 7. Joseph behaved very well, but I wouldn't make the same mistake as in my last life. This time, I wouldn't teach him personally. I took Joseph to see several of my houses and told him to pick one he liked. He looked nervous and whispered, "Brother, wherever you live, I'll live too." I sighed helplessly and brought him to a brand new villa, arranging servants and a butler to take care of him. The old place still carried memories from my past life, reminding me how foolish I once was. "This will be your new home from now on," I told him. Joseph stared at the luxurious villa, eyes wide, completely speechless. When he entered his room, he looked around again and again, disbelief shining in his eyes. "Brother, is this real?" he asked. It was his first time seeing such a place. One room here was big enough for 10 kids from the orphanage. Seeing his innocent amazement somehow lifted my mood. "Yes," I said softly. "From now on, all this is yours." Joseph smiled brightly. "Thank you, brother." He was just as sensible as I had imagined, careful, polite, and able to take care of himself. So I hardened my heart and left him in the butler's care. Everything about him was handled by the staff, while I went to do the things I'd always wanted to do in my last life but never had the chance. 6 years passed. Joseph looked out the window, his voice quiet and lonely. "Brother still doesn't want to see me, right?" My assistant stayed silent on the phone. Joseph got the message and said nothing more. After the call, my assistant came to my office and repeated Joseph's words. Since adopting him, I had gone abroad and never met him again. The assistant would occasionally report on his situation. Joseph was 17 now, already 1.8 meters tall. He had good grades, and from the photos my assistant sent, he was very handsome. Nothing like the thin, dark little boy I used to know. I nodded in approval. "Good. Keep it up." Joseph was always obedient and easy to handle. Raising him hadn't cost me much. The only thing was, each time he called, he always asked, "When can I see you, brother?" My assistant hesitated before finally speaking. "Sir, boys at his age, they can get into trouble if no one's around to guide them." He paused. "He got into a fight at school." That caught me off guard. In my memory, Joseph was always so mature and well-behaved. Had he become rebellious? In my last life, I had been strict with Landon and the others, hoping they'd stay on the right path. But that only pushed them further away, made them resent me. Now I realized I'd gone to the other extreme with Joseph. I hadn't been a real parent to him. Aside from money, I'd given him nothing. Because of what happened with Landon, I'd subconsciously treated Joseph unfairly. That wasn't right. After thinking for a moment, I put down my work. It was time to go home and see him. 8. It was Friday when the butler and I went to pick Joseph up from school. While waiting at the gate, I spotted him in his blue and white uniform, his backpack slung carelessly over one shoulder. Halfway across the yard, a boy with dyed green hair stopped him, smirking provocatively. I couldn't hear what they were saying, but Joseph's expression darkened. He glanced toward my car but didn't retaliate. The green-haired boy sneered and made a rude gesture before walking away. When Joseph got closer, I saw the bruise on his face. His head was lowered, his expression gloomy and tired. Was he being bullied? He'd always been so obedient, maybe he didn't even fight back. Just like before, Joseph opened the car door to sit in the back seat. But then froze. "Brother?" His eyes widened. "You're back. Is it really you?" His voice was clear and bright. He'd grown so much, taller, sharper features, fairer skin. The money had done its work, I thought dryly. But I could still see traces of the shy boy I'd once brought home. He'd gone through puberty, and his voice had deepened into something smooth and pleasant. I smiled. "Yes, it's me." At first, Joseph was overjoyed. But soon, he became quiet and cautious, sneaking glances at me from time to time. He must have been wondering how much I'd seen earlier. Up close, I could tell his injuries were worse than I thought. A bruise spreading across his forehead, a split lip. Clearly, he'd been punched. "What happened to your face?" I asked. The light in his eyes dimmed instantly, like a puppy caught in the rain. "I'm sorry, brother," he murmured. His looks had changed so much, but his personality hadn't. I patted his shoulder gently. If someone's bothering you at school, tell your teacher, or tell me. They won't ignore it. Half the buildings at that school were donated by our family, I added. Who dares to bully my brother? Joseph sat beside me, pretending to be calm. He took off his uniform jacket and draped it over his knees casually. No one's bullying me, he said. I frowned. Then you were fighting? Joseph was tall and strong for his age. If he got beaten up like that, I could only imagine how the other boy looked. But when he took off his jacket, I saw what he was wearing underneath. A black t-shirt with a skull print, a big cross pendant, and a pair of small earrings. Wait. What happened to my polite, well-behaved little brother? When did he turn into a rebellious, non-mainstream teenager? 9. I felt a pang of guilt. Was Joseph like this because I adopted him and then ignored him for so many years? I rubbed my temples, trying to figure out where I went wrong. The car was filled with silence. I didn't speak, and Joseph didn't dare move. All the reports I'd received about him said he was well-behaved. Was that just an act? Maybe he was one of those kids who acted polite in uniform but turned into a street punk after school. A good boy, in front of adults but impossible to control in private. As I was lost in thought, I heard a quiet sniffle beside me. Joseph was crying softly, tears rolling down like small pearls. Brother, he said, voice trembling, I fought them because they said bad things about you. I got angry. I couldn't stand it. He choked up. Please don't abandon me. I promise I'll be good from now on. Okay. He didn't care what others said about him. But when it came to me, he couldn't hold it in. I froze. So, he fought because of me. In my last life, when people insulted me, Landon and the others never defended me. They'd just say, brother, you won't argue with him, right? Declan's just too straightforward, he doesn't mean harm. They were too naive to see through Declan's little acts. Seeing I didn't respond, Joseph panicked and cried harder. Brother, please don't be mad, okay? I swear I'll never let something like this happen again. It turned out the boy he fought was that green-haired one I saw earlier. During a basketball game, Joseph had beaten him, and the boy resorted to dirty tricks. Later, they ganged up on Joseph, pushed him down, and mocked him. You're an orphan. Everyone knows that. Has your good brother ever even visited you? He doesn't want you anymore. Who'd want a stray like you? You don't even know your parents. Then he said even worse things about me. I saw your brother online. He looks like some pretty-faced beta. What's the point of being rich if he's useless? Joseph lost control and hit him. He beat the guy so badly he ended up in the hospital. From then on, they were enemies. Beta, so what? Joseph had shouted. Every building in this school was donated by my brother. He's better than all of you combined. After that, each time the boy insulted me, Joseph fought him again. But in public, he never caused trouble. He had to keep up his image of being the polite, well-behaved brother. Brother, he said now, voice trembling, if you're angry, you can hit me. His eyes were red and full of sorrow. I felt awful for having ignored him all these years. Joseph was a good kid. He deserved to grow up in a loving home. I sighed softly. It's fine. Just a small thing. I was wrong to doubt you. Let's go eat something nice later. Joseph's tears dried instantly, his eyes sparkling again. Thank you, brother. 10. On the way to the mall, Joseph talked non-stop. He told me about funny things that had happened at school. I listened patiently. His personality had changed a lot, he wasn't shy or timid anymore, just open and genuine. He really was a good kid. I decided I'd raise him properly this time. After all, every time he called me brother, it sounded so sweet it was hard to refuse him anything. The first step to raising a child, get rid of his ugly clothes. At the mall, I picked out several new outfits for him. Joseph was tall and had a good figure, he looked good in anything. As for that skull t-shirt, it went straight to the trash. While we were shopping, a group of students walked by wearing the same school uniform as Joseph. One of them ran toward him, and his face struck me as oddly familiar. "Joseph," he called out. It was Declan, still young, still pure-looking on the outside, but I knew better. He was exactly the same as before, surrounded by tall alphas, pretending to be harmless. I watched quietly as he reached out to grab Joseph's hand. Joseph quickly pulled away. Declan didn't seem to mind. He smiled sweetly and said, "Joseph, is this your brother? He's just as handsome as you said he was." He looked at Joseph while sneaking glances at me. I noticed the faint disgust that flashed through Joseph's eyes before he forced a polite smile. Declan, however, didn't stop. He ran right up to me and said cheerfully, "Hello, brother. I'm Joseph's classmate. My name's Declan." He was as fake as ever, sweet on the outside, manipulative underneath. I responded coldly, ignoring his offered handshake. Before he could say another word, Joseph interrupted sharply. "Declan, if there's nothing else, we'll go now." He grabbed my arm and led me away, leaving a fuming Declan behind. It was obvious Joseph didn't like him. I asked casually, "You don't like that boy?" Joseph froze for a second, his expression awkward. "No, brother," he said quickly. "I get along fine with everyone." I smiled. "Then what about him?" Joseph's face darkened slightly. He mumbled, "He kept staring at you." "I don't like that. Anyone who looks at my brother that way, I'll never like them. Brother belongs to me, and me alone. No one else should even think about it." Of course, Joseph didn't dare say any of that out loud. 11. After seeing Declan, my mood soured. Memories of Landon and the others came rushing back. "Joseph," I thought silently, "don't turn out like them. Because if you do, I won't hesitate to leave you too." I was still lost in thought when Joseph carefully held out his phone. "Brother, can I add you as a friend?" "Don't worry, I won't bother you." "Why?" I asked. His ears turned red. "I just want to be a little closer to you. I want to be someone like you, brother. If I ever disturb you, you can block me." "Fine." I couldn't bring myself to refuse. He added me and immediately sent a cute sticker. A fluffy little puppy wagging its tail. It reminded me of him. My little brother, this time, I thought, he's growing up the right way. After staying home for 2 days, I flew back abroad for work. But before I boarded, I sent him a message. "If you need anything, just tell me. I'll check messages when I have time." After these few days together, I had a good grasp of Joseph's personality. He was cold to others but full of energy when talking to me. It was easy to tell how happy he'd been during my visit. "I'm fine, brother. Everything's taken care of. Don't worry about me." He never texted unless necessary. It was me, instead, who kept messaging him. Telling him to study hard, stay out of fights, and definitely not fall in love too early. I didn't want my obedient little brother turning into a rebellious one again. But I worried too much. Joseph was nothing like Landon and the others. He was independent, responsible, and calm. He planned his own future without relying on me or the family's resources. That non-mainstream phase turned out to be a lost bet, nothing serious. I finally relaxed. Months passed, and our relationship grew closer. Then one day, I got a message from him. "Brother, I got first place in the entire school this term. Can I ask for a small reward?" First place, again. I typed back, "Sure. What do you want?" He took a long time to reply. When his message finally came, it read, "Tomorrow's my birthday. Could we have dinner together? Just at home. I'll cook. I kind of miss you. But if you're too busy, it's okay." Tomorrow was his birthday. I realized I'd never celebrated it before, just had my assistant send a random gift every year. But this time, he'd asked me personally. There was no way I could say no. Okay. I booked the earliest flight home that night. 12. When Joseph heard I was coming back, he woke up early and went straight into the kitchen. He spent the whole morning cooking a full table of dishes, all by himself. I was honestly surprised. When did he even learn to cook? And they were all my favorite dishes. It was his birthday, not mine. He was wearing a pink apron, the one our housekeeper usually wore, and scratched his head shyly. I asked Auntie to teach me during the holidays, he said, blushing a little. I like cooking. Then he looked at me, his eyes full of warmth. Brother, thank you for coming back to spend my birthday with me. I'm really happy. This is the best birthday I've ever had. You gave me a second chance at life. Without you, I wouldn't be who I am today. Joseph had grown up to be grateful and sincere. I felt satisfied, finally, he wasn't the ungrateful kid he used to be. I handed him the gift I brought from overseas. Happy birthday, Joseph. You're 18 now, officially an adult. Joseph's eyes lit up. He held the box carefully, like it was something precious. Thank you, brother. I love every gift you've ever given me. I've kept them all safe. Hearing that made me feel guilty. In the past, I'd always asked my assistant to pick the gifts for me. I hadn't even known what I gave him. But now that I had decided to treat him like a real brother, I wanted to do better. After dinner, the mood was good. We had a few drinks together. The food was delicious, the wine perfectly chosen. Joseph really had good taste. But my alcohol tolerance wasn't great. Soon, my head started spinning, and I fell asleep right on the table. Brother, you're drunk. Let me help you to your room. Okay. My mind was foggy, barely holding on. I could still hear Joseph murmuring softly near my ear, his words half blurred by the alcohol. Even when you're drunk, you're still so cute, so quiet. I like you like this. If only you could always stay like this. You're such a good brother tonight, too bad I'm not a good little brother. But in my days, all I caught was a few slurred syllables, brother, good. What did you say? I mumbled. He laughed faintly, voice low and soft. Nothing. Joseph tucked me into bed, brought me a bowl of hangover soup, and even helped me change into clean clothes. He was gentle, patient, almost too thoughtful. I grinned sleepily and slurred, I really raised a good brother. You're the best. As soon as my head hit the pillow, I drifted off. But my body felt strangely cold. The alcohol should have made me warm, but instead my hands and feet were icy, like always. Without hesitation, Joseph climbed into bed. He lifted my feet and pressed them against his warm stomach. He looked at me and smiled, eyes shining. Brother, this way you won't feel cold. It reminded me of my parents. When my mother was alive, my father used to do that for her on cold nights. I couldn't help but laugh softly. You're observant, not like those three ungrateful brats. They never even noticed I get cold easily. Joseph's eyes darkened instantly. His tone shifted, low and sharp. Who? What? Brother, you've done this with someone else before? Slept with them? How far did you go? But I was too drunk to even understand what he was asking. I laughed, mumbling something incoherent, and soon fell asleep completely. Even in my dreams, though, I couldn't rest. Something brushed against my face, light and ticklish, like a mosquito buzzing too close. 13. When I woke up the next morning, my head was still foggy. I moved slightly, and froze. There was someone lying right beside me, face buried against my chest. My mind went blank. For a moment, 1,000 scandalous scenes flashed through my brain. Then the person stirred, lifted his head, and smiled. Morning, brother. It was Joseph. I shot upright, heart pounding. Wait. Did I? No. No way. Did I just sleep with my own little brother? I stared at him, panic rising, until I noticed he wasn't wearing a shirt. The sunlight fell across his skin, outlining smooth muscles that hadn't been there before. That's when it hit me, Joseph wasn't a boy anymore. He was grown. Strong. Handsome. Even though we were both betas, he looked almost too perfect. Joseph sat up too, still calm, and said softly, "Sorry, brother. I was drunk last night too. I must have fallen asleep on your bed by accident. You don't mind, do you?" I exhaled, finally relaxing. Thank God. We just slept on the same bed. Nothing happened. Of course not, I said quickly. He smiled like a well-behaved puppy, eyes warm and gentle. "Brother, what would you like for breakfast? I can cook Chinese or Western style." Joseph's cooking was really something. Everything he made suited my taste perfectly. Without realizing it, I was already spoiled. "Maybe noodles," I said. "It's been a while since I've had some." "Okay," he said with a grin. Watching him move around the kitchen, I told myself firmly, "No. Stop it. He's my brother. We're both betas. There's no way." Right. That's how it should be. I needed to start dating again. It wasn't good to stay single for so long. I couldn't let my thoughts go astray because of Joseph. After that morning, I threw myself into work. I slowly shifted all my overseas business back home, planning to stay in the country for good. The family was already wealthy, but after years of effort, I'd made it even stronger. If Joseph stayed on the right path, one day he'd inherit half of it. He was an easy person to take care of, smart, mature, and sensible. After work, I'd come home to the villa and spend time with him. It made him so happy that he couldn't stop smiling for days. Every time he called out, "Brother," in that sweet, soft tone, I couldn't help but feel a strange warmth in my chest. He went to school every day, and the driver picked him up. He always got home earlier than me and waited by the gate, reciting from his textbooks while keeping an eye on the road. Every time a car passed, he'd run out to check. "Is brother back?" Every single time. At exactly 8 each night, I'd come home from work. And there he'd be, rushing out of the gate again. "Brother. You're back." Someone waiting for me at home. That feeling was rare, almost foreign. Like having a loyal little pet that brightened up my whole life. I patted his head, smiling. "Yeah. I'm back. Brother, we're having spicy crab tonight," Joseph said happily, taking my bag as he followed me inside. All of it, the meals, the warmth, the small domestic moments, they were his doing. His food had spoiled me, nothing else tasted as good anymore. But I couldn't let him spend all his time cooking, he had his college entrance exams soon. I tried to scold him, to make him focus on studying. He just smiled, shaking his head. "Brother, I'm happy when I cook for you. As long as you enjoy the food, I don't mind. Your happiness makes me happy." How could I argue with that? So I let him be. Joseph's grades were perfect in every subject, he didn't need me to worry. 14. When the college entrance exams came, Joseph did great, just like everyone expected. He got into the best university in the city. To celebrate, I threw him a big party, lively, grand, full of people. It was also to make up for the 18th birthday celebration he never properly had. The banquet was going smoothly until I noticed 3 unexpected guests slipping in through the crowd. They looked oddly familiar. "Brother," one of them said, smiling faintly, "we're back. We finally found you." I stared at them coldly. "Who are you? Why are you here?" The one standing in front, Landon, smiled with confidence. "We've met before. At the orphanage. You just chose Joseph instead of us." It turned out the 3 of them had spent years tracking me down. They found my new address thanks to Declan, the same man who'd ruined their lives once before. After meeting him again, they learned the truth. Declan had only cared about money, not them. Their adoptive families had been poor and cruel, treating them worse than strangers. Now they stood before me in tattered clothes, worn thin from years of hardship, full of resentment and regret. Hudson stepped closer, tugging at my sleeve like a lost child. "Charlie, please. We won't make the same mistake again. It's not too late. Give us another chance, okay? We're your real family." That was when I realized something: they'd been reborn too. I didn't know what had happened to them after my death. And honestly, I didn't care. Because now, I had Joseph. A new brother, one who cooked well, listened to me, was smart, gentle, grateful. He was nothing like them. Was this just another cliché, regret and redemption story? If so, this one was overcrowded, 3 people showing up at once. "I don't know you," I said flatly. "If you don't leave now, I'll call security." Logan's face turned red. "Charlie. We searched for you for 6 years. You have no idea how much we've suffered. After you left, we were adopted by a pair of psychopaths. We were starved, beaten, treated like animals for 3 whole years. And now you're just going to throw us out?" I couldn't help but laugh. Without me, they were nothing. Not even ordinary, worse than ordinary. They looked pitiful, weak, hollow, nothing like Joseph. "And what does that have to do with me?" I said coldly. "If I feel charitable, maybe I'll donate a few coins to you. But begging at my door? I find that disgusting." Landon stared at me in disbelief. "Why didn't you choose us? You could have saved us." They all knew I used to be the soft-hearted one. That's why they'd betrayed me so many times before. "Brother, we were tricked by Declan," they pleaded. "We didn't mean to hurt you. Please, don't turn your back on us. You said we were family forever. We'll protect you from now on, we'll make it right." Their words were as empty as ever. I smiled coldly. "Sorry, but I'm not obligated to take care of a bunch of ungrateful parasites." Then I called security and had them thrown out. As they were being dragged away, Joseph happened to walk in. He paused, watching the scene with quiet curiosity. "Brother," he asked softly, "who were they?" I looked at him, his perfect posture, the elegant clothes, the bright, clean smile. Everything about him was light years away from those 3. "Just some irrelevant people," I said. "Don't worry about them." But Joseph didn't look away. His gaze lingered on their disappearing figures. "Really? But they made you upset." After that night, the 3 vanished completely. They never came back. 15. One evening, I went to Joseph's room to look for him, and accidentally saw something I shouldn't have. His diary. It was lying wide open on the bedside table. Joseph himself was lying on the bed, eyes closed, breathing slow and steady, pretending to be asleep. I hesitated, then glanced at the pages. And froze. "Brother, I like you. I really, really like you. The kind of like where I want to be with you forever. I want to kiss you, hold you, love you. But I don't dare to say it. Every night, I dream about you. In my dreams, you're crying beneath me, and it's beautiful." My heart jumped into my throat. I quickly closed the notebook and stumbled out of the room, too shocked to breathe. Behind me, sleeping, Joseph slowly opened his eyes. From that day on, I didn't know how to face him anymore. He was my brother, how could he? I'd always thought of him as family, nothing more. When did his feelings change? When did mine start to waver? I began avoiding him. Joseph noticed immediately. He came to me with teary eyes, voice trembling. "Brother, did I do something wrong? Did I make you unhappy? I can change." I forced a smile. "No, it's not you. I'm just busy with work lately." After that, Joseph started keeping his distance too. He stopped waiting for me at the door. Stopped making breakfast or dinner. Stopped sharing stories from school. When he saw me, his eyes would fill with sadness before he quickly looked away. The house grew quieter, emptier. For 2 years, I'd raised Joseph carefully, treated him as family. But now, everything between us felt tense and fragile. He was an adult, he knew what he was feeling. I couldn't just tell him to stop. One night, Joseph came to me. "Brother, it's my fault," he said softly. "I made you hate me. But thank you for everything you've done. I'm really grateful. After graduation, I'll move out. I don't want to make things awkward for you anymore." He forced a smile, eyes red. "I'll apply to live in the dorms in a few days. You won't have to see me again." He was taller than me now, his expression full of quiet pain, like a puppy about to be abandoned. I didn't know what to say. I didn't want him to leave, but I also didn't want to hurt him. Within a week, he started packing his things. The house looked emptier with each box he moved. I couldn't stand it. How did we get here? Maybe I'd misunderstood him. Maybe it wasn't what I thought. One evening after work, I found myself driving toward his university. I just wanted to see how he was doing. Was the dorm comfortable? Was he eating well? I parked by the gate, planning to take a quick look. But before I could step forward, someone came up from behind. And everything went dark. 16. When I woke up again, I saw Declan's twisted face. A large scar ran down the left side of his face, making him look terrifying. His body was covered in bruises. I had been kidnapped by Declan. The place was an abandoned warehouse, dirty, cold, and broken. He grabbed my collar and shouted, "Charlie, why is it always you? You ruin everything." I was so close, Joseph should have been mine. But why did he fall for you instead? My heart sank. How did Declan even know about Joseph's feelings? Declan sneered, eyes burning with madness. "Oh, you don't know? Your perfect little brother is a freak. He secretly watches you, hides your clothes, and dreams of having you." I froze. His words made my skin crawl. How could Declan possibly know these things? And his injuries, who did that to him? Declan laughed hysterically. How do I know? Because I was supposed to be the main character in this world. It all belonged to me. But you ruined it. Those 3 idiots, Landon and the others, they dared to fight back. They beat me, so I killed them. Ha! Just some useless orphans. Dead or alive, who cares? He licked his cracked lips. But Joseph, he's different. Why does he love you too? Oh, and by the way, he helped me kill them. I stared at him in horror. This wasn't the Declan I knew. This was a monster. And now, he pressed a knife against my neck. I already called Joseph. Let's see if he saves you, or himself. Let's see how much he really loves you. My mind spun. What was this lunatic trying to do? I could only hope Joseph would call the police, not come here. But after 10 long minutes, Joseph showed up. Alone. Let him go, Joseph said. Take me instead. He's innocent. Declan grinned wider, his eyes gleaming with madness. He forced Joseph to inject himself with a strange serum, an alpha pheromone overload catalyst. Declan explained gleefully. This thing drains your strength, makes your pheromones spiral out of control until your body explodes. Unless you get help. And there are only 2 ways, a hospital, or complete physical release. But we were deep in the suburbs, no help was coming. If we tried to reach a hospital, Joseph would be dead long before we got there. Joseph collapsed. I was still tied up. Who could possibly save us now? But then something struck me. Joseph was supposed to be a beta. This drug shouldn't even affect him. 17. Declan watched Joseph collapse and laughed. Then he grabbed the knife and stabbed him again and again. Why? Why won't any of you love me? Die! Declan was a transmigrator, his mission had failed. And this time, there would be no second chance. Death was his only ending. But before he could stab again, Joseph suddenly rolled over, snatched the knife, and fought back. The two of them struggled fiercely. Joseph was badly hurt, blood running freely from his side, but he refused to give up. I could see he was using sheer willpower to stay conscious. The drug was working against him. His strength was fading fast. And then, just like that, Declan disintegrated into dust. His punishment for failing his mission. Before I could even react, Joseph cut my ropes, then collapsed again. The drug had taken full effect. His veins bulged, sweat dripped down his neck, and his fingers dug deep into the floor. He was clearly in agony. If I didn't act, he'd die right here. But getting him to a hospital was impossible. I only had two choices. Watch him die in pain, or do what Declan hinted at. Joseph's voice trembled. Brother, I love you. It's fine if you don't love me back. I've already accepted it. I can die here, it's okay. At least I won't die alone. Without you, I probably would have starved to death long ago. He smiled weakly. You should go. Please. 18. Blood kept dripping from his wound. Joseph acted like it didn't matter, but I was panicking inside. Brother, he whispered, if I survive tonight, I'll disappear from your life. But if I die, that's fine too. At least you'll remember me. He gave a faint smile. Oh, Anne. I lied to you. I actually differentiated 2 years ago. I'm an alpha now. I froze. When did that happen? In the previous life, he'd always been a beta. He chuckled bitterly. You once said you like betas, that you hate alphas. So how could I ever tell you? I vaguely remembered saying that. Joseph looked at me with that same soft, heartbreaking smile. You chose me once, brother. That was enough for me. I love you. No matter what you do, no matter how you treat me, I'll always love you. He clenched his jaw, trembling. Please leave. If I lose control, I might hurt you. I felt a heavy weight in my chest. Every time I tried to raise a brother, something went wrong. Raise them too well, they turned into ungrateful bastards. Raise them too poorly, they turned into broken monsters. Joseph was different. He loved because I cared for him. But that love had turned into obsession. Still, love never follows logic. He was insane, yes, but he was my insane brother. How could I not save him? He was gambling on my soft heart, and he won. Because I really couldn't bear to lose him. Joseph, I muttered, fine. I'll give you one chance. Let's get you treated first. The rest, we'll talk later. Honestly, I'd already realized it long ago. Joseph wasn't like the others. He wasn't just a younger brother. There was something more. Something I couldn't name. Maybe someday, I'd understand it. But for now, I gave him the only answer I could. Joseph, this is your one and only chance. He smiled faintly, as if he'd expected it all along. Then I'll hold on to it, he said softly. And I'll never let go.